Good afternoon. Hockey Alberta has made a decision that's got parents and hockey fans talking. Body checking is being eliminated from the Pee Wee division, which are players who are ages 11 and 12 years old. Our Daryl Rummold has been working on the story today. Daryl, it's a controversial decision. Why the change?
Hockey Alberta says there's overwhelming evidence that body checking is the biggest cause of injury and specifically concussions for kids playing minor hockey. The decision to ban hitting at that level comes after a body checking review committee spent last year looking at scientific research, member feedback and positions of other Hockey Canada branches about contact in minor hockey. Officials at minor hockey here in Lethbridge say they were not consulted about the decision. I spoke to a number of people in the hockey world today who are widely against the move, including former Lethbridge Hurricanes head coach Michael Dick, who now coaches his son's Pee Wee AA team. He calls the decision disappointing.
I was surprised. I mean, I know that Calgary minor hockey tried to put something like this into effect last year, and it was it was obviously voted down. So I was a little surprised that it's going to be province-wide. I think it's a mistake. I guess I don't know enough about what I understand the reasoning of it, and trying to reduce injuries, but at the same time, I think you're delaying the inevitable. It's a contact sport, and I think as opposed to eliminating it, I think we have to teach, the purpose and the proper way of doing it, and I think in doing that, you're going to eliminate a lot of injuries.
These new rules go into effect immediately, meaning the 2013-2014 season. So if your child was an Atom moving into Pee Wee, they will continue with no contact play. If your player was in Pee Wee last year going into second year, they will now be in a non-contact league. Midget and Bantam remain the same. There is full contact there. Mixed reviews on this issue, obviously, and in Lethbridge especially. Their big league checks at a minor hockey level, and they've become a huge problem for Hockey Alberta. So much so that on Wednesday, a major ruling eliminating checking from Pee Wee hockey effective immediately.
Obviously, the evidence is overwhelming that there has to be something done with that age.
A hit that would have likely drawn cheers from the crowd last season will now draw a 2-minute penalty.
We'll support it. We know it's going forward. It's the best thing going forward for kids.
But that sentiment isn't shared by everyone.
I think it's a huge step backwards.
Ex-NHLer Rich Sutter says he believes kids should be taught the skill properly from an early age. This decision, he says, could cause problems, including an increase in injury.
I think it's going to create a lot of bad habits. It's going to create a lot of things that are going to go on in the game that aren't happening in our game. And quite frankly, I think it's another rule in our game that doesn't need to be in the game.
Russell Benson disagrees. He told CTV by telephone he supports the move. In 2010, he watched his son Brendan's season come to an end as a result of a vicious check. Doctors say the period between 11 and 13 years of age is a critical period in brain development, and the injury data is beyond alarming. Hockey Alberta says the rate of concussion in Pee Wee hockey players where checking is allowed is about 1.5 concussions per 1,000 hours on ice. That's similar to the rate of players in the NHL, who suffer 1.8 over that same time period, and significantly higher than in older age groups. Feedback on the decision has been steady and strong-worded. The phones in Lethbridge minor hockey are continuously ringing, and online the ruling has been called everything from a step in the right direction to a complete joke. But for either side of the argument, it's no laughing matter. Daryl Rummold, CTV News, Lethbridge.
Coaches will still be required to take the checking skills program in Pee Wee and encouraged to teach staff checking skills in a practice setting. Now, the ban is also sparking discussions on our CTV Lethbridge Facebook page. Ari says, how are they suddenly going to learn how to safely check as well as safely take a check when they are way older and way faster and way heavier? This seems like a bad idea. Angela wrote, my son is starting his first year this fall and I am relieved, thank you. Well, Jason posted kids are going to get more rattled when they get hit by bigger, faster kids. I don't think it's a wise decision. Kids should learn early, and Pee Wee is a good age for them to learn to take and give a hit. Kind of seems like we've gone straight into summer here, Dory. Temperatures into the 30s this weekend. I don't think anybody minds.
I know. I haven't heard any complaints on that end. The only complaints I've had, of course, was the wind that we had yesterday. But we did have a little sprinkle this morning. We had some sprinkles on a line just to the north of Lethbridge and then heading to Tabor during the evening hours last night. So there is some instability, and some of that comes through with these higher temperatures. It kind of triggers a little bit of convective energy. But for the most part, we are looking at very mild temperatures over the next several days, and I'll tell you about it in a couple of minutes.
Thank you, Dory. Well, Lethbridge's Finance Committee at City Council continues to hammer out the details of the new capital improvement plan. The budget for the 2014 to 2023 CIP is just a little over $68 million. And today, City Council approved $4.5 million for additional amenities at the North Regional Park project. And $14 million is going to go towards the Yates Enhancement Project, and another $6 million will come from grants. That project is slated to be done in a few years. Now, Finance Committee also voted to include an aquatic center at the Crossings Ice Center, with funding coming from a number of sources, including borrowing nearly $30 million. They did shoot down 2 proposals today, including an $18 million request to reallocate and relocate the gun range and a request to improve the Henderson Lake Golf Club facility. The Redford government is under fire for a budget brochure that's set to turn up in all of our mailboxes. The brochure in Tory blue and orange will be sent to all Alberta households, explaining the government's tough budget. It will cost taxpayers $350,000, but the government says the expense is worth it. The report talks about challenging every dollar in provincial spending, and that's exactly what critics have honed in on.
You gotta love it. You know, using taxpayer dollars to sell an idea back to them. Not what I think government is supposed to be doing.
This is much more detailed, allows government to communicate what government policies are. I think that's part of our role in democracy.
Lukasik says the government's in a tough spot. If it doesn't communicate, it's criticized for being secretive. And when it does get a message out, there are complaints about wasted money. Advanced polling stations are open today across BC and the East Kootenay ahead of next week's provincial election. BC Liberal candidate Bill Bennett and Norma Blissett of the BC NDP will be in the Elk Valley tonight for their second forum in consecutive nights. This forum is going to be taking place at the Elkford Community Conference Centre. Doors open at 6:30, with the forum getting underway around 7. But residents will also have a chance for a meet and greet with the candidates from 8:30 until 9 tonight. Statistics Canada has released the first part of its National Household Survey, a questionnaire filled out by more than 3 million people. So far, the focus has been on immigration. The results show where the most newcomers are traveling from, what languages they speak, and where they now live. According to the report, Canada is home to 6.8 million foreign-born residents. That's about 1/5 of our country's population. There were also numbers on the Aboriginal population. It surged by 20% between 2006 and 2011. A Milk River rancher says he is proud to have a new dinosaur species named after him. Although Roy Audette isn't taking any credit for the discovery, a skull cap of the dinosaur was found on Audette's land 5 years ago. Researchers now say it belongs to a species considered to be the oldest dome-headed dinosaur in North America and maybe even the world. Terry Boat reports.
Roy and Christy Audette live on a ranch overlooking the Milk River, not far from Writing on Stone Provincial Park, a spectacular National Historic Site. They have an amazing collection of deer antlers, bison skulls, even rattlesnake skins. But it's a dinosaur fossil found on their land in 2008 that's creating all the excitement.
Didn't really pay that much attention when they said they found this skull cap. I didn't know it was that significant, or I'd forgotten it was that significant, but it turns out it is pretty significant.
Researchers now say the skull cap represents the oldest bone-headed dinosaur in North America, possibly the world. It was a plant eater that stood on 2 legs, was only about 6 feet long and 40 kilograms, about the size of a large German shepherd. It's now been named Acrotholus audeti, the first part referring to its dome-shaped skull, the last part in honor of Audette, whose land the specimen was found on.
Early this spring I got an email saying they had done their work on it and they were ready to publish their findings, and would it be all right if they named it after me? And I said, sure.
Most of the fossils found in this part of the river valley are 60 to 65 million years old, but just across the Milk River, they're much older, around 80 million years old. That's where researchers were looking when they came across this discovery.
The age is the important thing.
Audette is already getting jokes about having a boneheaded dinosaur named after him, but he doesn't mind that it wasn't a big ferocious meat eater.
Well, I thought it was an honor to be recognized for what little I had in way of helping him out, because I didn't do very much.
But the scientific community says landowners do have an important role to play, preserving these lands and allowing scientists access so they can carry out their research. Terry Vogt, CTV News, near Writing on Stone Provincial Park.
Scientists say it's an exciting find because fossil remains of small dinosaurs are much less common than larger ones, and this specimen is expected to provide a wealth of new information about bone-headed dinosaurs. Well, it was a big day for students in Brooks. It was Career Day, specifically at the Griffin Park Elementary School. This little guy here, his name is Alex Sanford. He's 8 years old and in grade 3. He decided, though, that he didn't want to go dressed up as what his dad does, who works in the oil field, or his grandpa, who is an auto appraiser. Instead, he dressed up like his uncle. Take a look at that pink tie. It may give you a hint. That's right, Daryl Rummeld is Alex's uncle, and we hope you all had fun today. Coming up next, we've got a look at the markets. Then Dory's got weather on the way back.